Okay, let's dive in. So picture this. You've got really important business data, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not in some standard database or, a big cloud platform everyone uses.
Right. It's stuck somewhere awkward.
Exactly. Like maybe it's locked inside this quirky old internal tool someone built years ago.
Or could be a super modern SaaS platform, but just really niche, not widely used.
Yeah, and you need that data for decisions, for insights, but there's just no easy way to pull it out. No connector ready to go.
That really is a common headache, isn't it?
Yeah.
We rely so much on data now. Hitting that wall where essential info is just trapped, that's a major bottleneck.
Hmm.
A
Yeah.
lot of teams look at platforms like Airbyte.
Mm.
It's known for having tons of pre-built connectors, which is great for the common stuff.
Right, that plug and play promise. Super appealing. But what if your system isn't common?
Yeah.
When you hit that specific wall, the source material we looked at points towards the Airbyte connector development kit.
The CDK.
Ah, yes, the CDK. It seems like that's the intended escape hatch. It's designed precisely for this, letting you build the connector that's missing.
So I guess the big question we're tackling in this deep dive, based on what we read, is this. Is learning this Airbyte CDK, is that a genuinely hot skill right now?
Yeah, like for an engineer's career, or even for a company's data strategy. Is it a must-have or more of a nice-to-have for specific situations?
Okay, so digging into what the sources say.
Yeah.
The CDK itself, it's essentially a framework, mostly Python, it seems.
Right. Think of it like a starter kit, maybe, a guided way to build these API bridges.
Exactly. It handles a lot of the repetitive stuff, like packaging it all up neatly using Docker.
Oh, Docker's important here. Why is that?
Well, it makes sure your custom connector runs reliably everywhere. Same environment on your machine in staging and production, and it ensures it integrates smoothly with the main Airbyte platform.
Got it. So it standardizes the deployment?
hmm And this is where the nuance really comes in,
Right.
according to the analysis. It's pretty clear the CDK isn't something every data engineer needs on their resume right now.
Okay, so not universally essential.
Not universally, no.
Hmm.
But, and this is a big but, if you're in a larger company, an enterprise maybe, that relies heavily on data from those, let's say, unique internal apps.
Legacy systems.
Yeah, legacy systems, or maybe those very specific long-tail sauce tools that just don't have pre-built connectors anywhere,
Hmm.
then the CDK becomes incredibly valuable.
Invaluable, you'd say, for actually getting that tracked data out.
Absolutely. The analysis makes a strong point that for the engineers themselves, getting good with the CDK shows real versatility.
How so?
It signals you're not just plugging things together, you're a problem solver.
Right.
You can tackle the trickier custom integration stuff.
The hard stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It shows you get how to work with different APIs, hear out authentication methods.
Like how a system checks who you are.
Right. And you can manage these Docker containers. And you understand tricky concepts like stateful syncing.
Stateful syncing. What's crucial about that?
Oh, it's critical. It means the connector has to remember exactly where it stopped reading data last time,
So it doesn't miss records.
or grab the same data over and over again. You avoid duplicates and gaps.
Mhm.
Getting those details right, that makes an engineer really stand out, especially in companies with, complex data setups.
Okay, so for those specific companies, the impact is huge. Having people in-house who can use the CDK means they can finally tap into data from, I don't know, that homegrown CRM or some specialized industry platform.
Data that would otherwise just sit there, useless,
Hmm.
or require building really complex, brittle, one-off scripts,
Hmm.
which nobody wants to maintain.
Right. Nightmare.
And for the platform teams managing the data infrastructure, it means they can integrate new sources faster. They have more control, less waiting around hoping a vendor eventually builds the connector they need.
Makes sense. More self-sufficiency.
But the sources were very clear. There's a significant but.
Ah, okay. What's the catch?
Building the connector. That's just step one. These custom connectors, they need constant looking after. Testing, monitoring, maintenance.
Maintenance. Right. Why is that such a big deal?
Because the source systems don't stay static. APIs change. Their underlying structure, the schema, can just drift.
Drift, like columns get renamed or added.
Exactly. Or a field that was optional suddenly becomes required. If that happens in the source, your custom connector just breaks, stops working, unless you update it.
Ah, so it's not a build it and forget it kind of deal.
Definitely not. The analysis really emphasizes this need for a long-term commitment. It's why some companies might even bring in specialist consultants just for this maintenance work.
Okay, that paints a clearer picture. It demands ongoing effort. But for engineers who do develop this skill, It sounds like it could open doors, maybe specialized consulting or roles inside those big companies with unique data needs.
Absolutely. That seems to be the takeaway.
So let's try and pull this all together from the material we reviewed. Airbyte CDK development. It's not perhaps universally hot, like, say, being a cloud architect right now.
No, not quite that broad.
But for very specific teams, specific situations, especially in larger organizations where key data is stuck behind non-standard interfaces, it is genuinely invaluable.
That seems to be the consensus. It delivers that high impact value. It unlocks data no one else can get to easily.
Gives you control. And for engineers, it proves you have this deep, versatile skill set around APIs, Docker, tricky sync logic, real problem-solving chops.
With the trade-off, as we said, being that necessary ongoing upkeep because source systems are always changing.
Right. So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, in a world sometimes drowning in easy-to-get data, here's maybe a final thought to chew on.
Hmm.
Is the real challenge in the data world shifting? Maybe less about just collecting the obvious stuff everyone else has access to, and more about developing those specialized skills needed to unlock the really valuable data that nobody else can easily reach.